Don't try to be the smartest person in the room. I say be the most dangerous person in the room.
New season, new energy, realer, rawer, more powerful than ever. This season, we're pulling back the curtain on what it truly means to lead with purpose, live with grace, and keep going when life tries to knock you off course. We're diving into the leadership that transforms lives.
I'm Kelley Cornish, and this is Life and Leadership Unplugged.
Welcome back to Life and Leadership Unplugged with Kelley Cornish. Hi, I am Kelley Cornish, and today's conversation is all about legacy, excellence, and impact. I am so excited. I am so thrilled to sit down with Ed Barron. If you don't know who he is, I'm sure you do, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. Automotive executive, entrepreneur, and former chairman of 100 Black Men of Atlanta. We're going to talk today about leadership that lasts and the power of mentorship across generations. So welcome. Thank you for joining us, Ed.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. I am so excited about this conversation. I think I mentioned to you when we were prepping earlier that I followed you eons ago before people were followed.
Yes.
And read about you when I followed the top list of automotive, I think, dealerships or dealers in the country and Black enterprise. And I just wow, I had no idea. Now here I am years later meeting you. So nice to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So we are here with Life and Leadership Unplugged to really just have a conversation about life. And then in the midst of it, as you do the great things and the impact that you're leaving, how do you take time to rejuvenate, to go back into doing what you've been called to do? So I'm going to start off with a couple of questions for you. So your career, you've had an amazing career. We're going to get into that. But you've built a career in the automotive industry and in community leadership. So for those who may not know, who may not have gone back as far as I did, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you did it. How did it begin?
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, with anything that you want to get into, I tell people you have to have a passion for it. Mm-hmm. And even as a very young person, my passion was anything mechanical. I love cars, motorcycles, airplanes, watches, anything that had movement, I was attracted to. Mm-hmm. And I remember the day very distinctly. I was on the way to school. I was going to Emory. I went to Emory University, yes. And I was early for class, and just by chance I stopped at a car dealership just to ask the guys how the process worked, because back then your parents would always say we're going to have a new car, so they'll go buy it, bring it home, and you didn't know any idea how it worked. So the guys were so nice, walked me around, told me everything, wow. And before I left, they offered me a job.
Are you serious?
I said, guys, look, what are you talking about? I go to Emory University. I'm not selling cars. I said, this is not what I'm going to do for a living. One of the guys pulled me to the side and showed me his check for that week. I said, you got paid that for a week? He said, 1 week. Wow. So I went home and told my parents, and my mother, as you can imagine, was not very happy when I said, I think I want to get into the car business. My father was okay with it. He said, look, whatever you love, you do, and you'll do it well. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it started. And then my biggest career change was I was at work one day. I got a phone call from an attorney's office. Mm-hmm. And the attorney said, we're representing Hank Aaron, and he's opening a new dealership here in Atlanta. So I immediately hung the phone up thinking it was one of my friends playing a prank, but in fact it wasn't. And a little bit of a backstory, that was in 1999.
Wow.
Wasn't that long ago, 26 years ago.
No.
There was not a single Black-owned BMW dealership in the nation.
In the nation?
There was not a single.
Not Atlanta, but the nation.
In the nation.
Wow.
Mr. Aaron was tapped by the then president of BMW North America to be the very first Black-owned BMW dealership in the country. Wow. Mr. Aaron is such a brilliant person. He said, look, I don't know anything about the automotive business. I know about people. Mm-hmm. I know about business. I need a partner who knows the automotive business.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's where it started. And my first meeting with Mr. Aaron, I said, Mr. Aaron, and he was my mentor until he passed away. I said, Mr. Aaron, I'm a salesperson. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to operate a business, how to run a dealership. Mm-hmm. He looked at me and said, Sid, you'll learn. Wow. He said, the problem we have right now is not that our community doesn't have the wherewithal or the intelligence to run a business, we don't have the opportunity. I want to give you that opportunity. And that was 26 years ago. I get emotional thinking about it.
I was going to say
that was 26 years ago.
I cannot believe that. And so you honed in on a couple of things. Number one, your curiosity of going by that dealership that day.
Yes. Total by chance.
Just totally by chance, but something was in you to say, I need to understand how this works.
Yep.
And I think if we think about generations of today, the younger generations, I love to see the creators and everything now because they're actually jumping into, I'm curious about this, let me find out. And so they're doing it more, but I think there's opportunity to do it even more, to just let your curiosity just lean into that curiosity,
Yes, exactly.
right? And then with that path that you took, another door was opened for someone to say, because you had that curiosity, basically, I've got this. I just need you for that.
Yep.
And so I love that. And so congratulations on the courage. And when you're young, you really don't even think it's courage. You're like, let me just go by here, right?
Correct.
Let me just go see.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. So, and I don't want to just ride by, the late Hank Aaron, because that's a just whole story within itself.
Sure, it is.
So you got the call and you thought it was a prank, but then you realized it wasn't. Then what was the next thought? Like, how did you, from that call to you meeting him?
If you understood my family, my father and my grandfather, they were the biggest baseball fans in the world. And they looked at Hank Aaron with reverence.
I bet.
And it was just remarkable that, well, unfortunately, both my father and grandfather had passed at the time. But that's all I could think about, was here is a guy that I'm working with who's a legend, that has said, let me help you get to another level. And not that and he said, I don't want you to work for me. I don't want you to be my general manager. I want you to be my partner. And that just created just, where I am now. And this was not a person who anyone would ever think was that brilliant in developing other people.
Right.
But he was the best mentor I could have had.
I love it. I feel like I'm sitting in that seat right now to get a call a couple of years ago from Bishop T.D. Jakes asking to come run his foundation. And somebody else like, I haven't run a foundation before. And he was just like, well, I think you can do it.
Sure,
You know what I mean? And so when you're sitting there, and I know how scared I was on the first call and Zoom call. Like, I actually thought it was a joke because when the phone call came through, I was waiting for him to call me. And now you can see it says like no caller ID. And I was just like, well, is it really him? And then I talked to him. I was like, is this really him? Or is this somebody? You know what I mean? Like, it took a minute to get into it. But I can appreciate that because, someone at that time, and still is for you, was a legend. And now you get to be under their tutelage.
Absolutely.
And that is just priceless. Yeah. That is just priceless. And that's few and far between. So we
is.
share that together. So I appreciate that. But what lessons did you take from that experience working with him that you feel still shapes you today?
I do a lot of mentorship with our younger affiliate group with 100 called the Emergent 100. These are young men who are 25 to 35. And I work with them a lot. And I tell them basically three things. The first thing is, you always want to look at leadership that you're dealing with people, not just profits. If you look, you manage numbers, but you lead people. And that was one of the biggest lessons I learned from Mr. Aaron, is he said, the numbers they'll find their way, but you've got to do the right thing, with your staff. You always want to be authentic.
Right.
You don't want to just have an image. You want to be an authentic person. You want to have the type of integrity that is infallible. No matter what happens, good, bad, or indifferent, failure isn't failure. Failure is learning.
Right.
And you want to forget about the image. And, back then, 25 years ago, social media was just in its infancy.
Say that, yeah.
But today, what does everybody want to see? Well, let me look at your Instagram. Let me look at your Facebook. Let me look at your TikTok.
Just had this conversation yesterday at work.
And I tell these young men, I say, guys, look beyond that.
Absolutely.
I said, be authentic. Have some integrity. Because once that fades away, once that 10 seconds is gone, you're still there.
Right.
So when I see you the next day, are you going to be that person I just saw, or are you going to be the real person that you are?
Absolutely.
And the last thing I tell them is continue to learn. Because continuous learning is the one thing that none of us can get enough of.
Yeah.
If you ever think you know it, you don't know it.
You don't.
You know, you've got to continue to learn, and you got to continue to be able to change and to innovate. And those are the three things that Mr. Aaron really taught me. But the strongest was just think of your people before your profits. Always have integrity with anything you do, and always learn.
Always learn.
Yep.
Let's learn. I love it. I'm a lifelong learner as well.
Yep.
I love to learn. My staff, they probably say, if you give me one more book, but it's just something about, and as I learn, I want them to learn. And it's just, so that's, I agree with you definitely there. And I'm sure one of my executive coaches, he says this all the time, and I'm sure it didn't come from him, but he reminds me of it. He always says, you don't know what you don't know.
Correct.
So always be open.
Yeah.
Because you have no idea. You don't know.
Yeah.
The first time he told me that, he drew this pie, and he was like, it's a little slither in here of what you do know, but the rest of that, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And that always stays with me, and I try to be open in situations, and I try to invite others to understand it's still a lot you don't know about a lot of things, right?
It is.
And so I love that. I love that. So we've talked about how your career started. We talked about just the mentorship along the way. And in the midst of this, how do you now take time to just reset, unplug, and just regroup?
It's important because we can get too wrapped up, and we've seen it, in a career. Too wrapped up in things outside of the career, and we forget about our faith in our family. Without our faith in our family, nothing else really matters. Right. When you think about how long we're going to be here on the earth, it's a very short time, just a blink of an eye. And thankfully, I've been married now for 38 years.
Oh, congratulations! That is amazing.
My wife and I have been together for 41 years.
Wow.
And she supports me implicitly with everything that I do. She's at every fundraiser. She's at every meeting that she can attend. We've gotten to the point where we have a joint calendar that's next to the refrigerator, and she says, "Do I have any free time this week?" Meaning her. She hasn't had to work for 2 decades, but her question is, "Am I busy this week?"
Am I busy this week?
It's gotten to the point, and this may sound silly. I even hate to say it, but she's taken one of our bedrooms and made it a formal closet, because she has to have all of her formal gowns.
Yes, formal closet. Yes.
with all of her outfits, but thankfully for guys, a black tux, and we're
so
good to
easy.
go.
You guys are so easy, so easy.
But family and faith cannot be replaced. My family knows that, what's important to me. They support that. But at the same token, I would never do anything that is not anything that they couldn't be involved in.
Right.
That's one of the most important things.
Right.
Work, thankfully, I have a CEO that understands that without the communities that we serve, we have 175 dealerships.
Wow.
Without the communities that we serve, we really are nothing. So he did something phenomenal. About 4 years ago, we formed what's called Asbury Cares, which is our philanthropy arm of our company. We give every hourly employee 40 hours per year to use for volunteer work, paid. We pay them, and we track it, and we tell all of our team members, use your volunteer hours. So you have to have a place of business that supports you, a family that supports you. But how do I turn it off? It's we carve out a lot of family travel. And people, they laugh at me sometimes when I tell them that, we're going on vacation. And they're like, "Oh, well, where are you and Myrna going?" I said, "Well, no, we are going," because we always take my sister, my brother-in-law.
Family affair.
All of us travel together.
Wow.
Because it's always fun to travel, with your family. So we purposely, intentionally, about once a quarter, take time out to travel together and just to enjoy some time away from everything.
So good.
It's difficult to just kind of turn it off, but you have to.
You have to,
because it's just like your cell phone. If you don't charge the batteries, it's going to die.
It's going to die.
So you got to recharge those batteries.
I love it. I love it. That is great. And with that, we're going to pause for just a minute. and take a commercial break. But for those who just tuned in, you're listening to Life and Leadership Unplugged with Kelley Cornish, and we're talking with one of our great friends of the TD Jakes Foundation, one of our new friends I'm excited to share. But stay with us and we'll be right back.
Times are tough, unemployment is up, and too many families are struggling just to make ends meet. But at the TD Jakes Foundation, we believe that no challenge is too great when a community comes together. We're empowering people with education, workforce training, and access to opportunity. And today, you can become a part of that change. It only takes $5. That's $5 to make an impact, $5 and tag 5 friends to help open doors for someone's future. And thanks to Wells Fargo, the first $1 million raised will be doubled. That's right, your $5 instantly becomes $10 of impact. Join the Power of 5 by texting Power of 5 to 53555. Together, we can change lives.
So welcome back to Life and Leadership Unplugged with Kelley Cornish. This is the podcast of the TD Jakes Foundation, and I am so excited to talk to leaders about who they are, their life, their career, their legacy, and also how they unplugged, or how they continue to unplug day in and day out. And so joining me right now is Mr. Ed Barron, and he is an amazing automotive entrepreneur, just executive, all things. And so he's joining us back. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. And so for this next part, I would love to talk about your legacy as chairman of 100 Black Men of Atlanta.
Yes.
And so you mentored hundreds of young men throughout that time. What have you learned about the next generation of leaders from that experience?
You know, it's an incredible time right now not only in the city, but in the world. Mm-hmm. And when I see the capacity that our young people have, and our young people of color, mm-hmm. it's astounding. We mentor primarily Best Academy, which is right here in 30318. The school is from here, probably 3 miles away from where we're doing the podcast.
Wow.
These young men, it's a single gender public school, mm-hmm. but these young men live in the highest crime rate area in the city. Highest incidence of teen pregnancy, highest incidence of peer-on-peer violence, highest percentage of single-parent households, primarily moms, and in some cases just a grandmother. Mm-hmm. But these young men are incredible. We have a group that we put together called Project Success. We take 100 students, and our 100 Project Success students last year, or this last graduating year, 100% graduated.
Wow.
100% got accepted to college.
Congratulations.
100% received scholarships.
Yes.
We have one young man going to West Point, and we have one going to the Air Force Academy. So it's never someone's situation or circumstance mm-hmm. that will create where they're going to be years from now. Mm-hmm. But one thing that we found with the 100 is we have to be intentional, and we're not going to replace a parent. We're not going to replace these young men's fathers.
Right.
But we can be that person where when they need that phone call, we're there for them. Mm-hmm. When they need that talk, we're there for them. Mm-hmm. We've made mistakes.
Right.
And we try to let them know the right turns to take. Because as we know, one bad left-hand turn, that's it. Their life is over. But it becomes exponential because that young man then will mentor a sibling. Those siblings will mentor a parent. That parent will mentor someone in the community. So our mentorship goes beyond just the students at school. It creates such a web that when we do it intentionally, we do it purposely, we do it. Now, we have to show up.
Right.
Because you tell a 14-year-old that you're going to do something with them and you don't do it, you're lost all credibility.
Right.
So we show up. But thankfully, our members are so strong with the young men. And we can't be any more proud of them. Right now, literally right now, today, we have a group of them at Gettysburg.
Really?
Having an on-site history lesson. Unfortunately, they went to the African American Museum yesterday, and because of the government shutdown, the museum was closed.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because the kids were able to walk around D.C. and just be immersed in history. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the Emerging 100 is our younger professional affiliate. Mm-hmm. And these are young men who are just getting into their professional careers. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them did not have the mentorship that some of our younger students have, So they're trying to understand, how do I interface with people at work?
Absolutely.
How do I have a relationship? Because a lot of them who didn't have a parent or didn't have a strong base at home, they don't know how to have that personal relationship with a young lady to be able to have a meaningful relationship, beyond
Absolutely.
beyond what they're doing. So we keep our arms around those guys as well, because they need it.
That, it's always a need.
Yeah, it's always a
and
need.
you all are addressing a need. And when I listen to you talk about project success, I think about the work that we do at the TD Jakes Foundation and trying to work with partners around community transformation.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And when you talked about the stats and where they come from, and then where you guys are trying to take them to, what that will do, like you said, it'll have a ripple effect. Something will touch the parent, and someone will touch a neighbor. And it's things like that, as well as the other resources inside of a community, that will help transform a community. So I applaud you all on that. Another question, a follow-up question to that is, do you see, with the work that you're doing with them, do you see it pouring back into the economic mobility because you said, you're teaching them how to show up for work.
Yes.
And it may be too soon to tell, but do you see now or somewhere down the line where what you all are doing will possibly help change the trajectory of them financially?
Absolutely.
Around economic
Absolutely.
mobility.
Well, if you look around Atlanta, where we are, this area, is Grove Park. We're about 2 miles from West Midtown.
Wow.
Look at the companies that have come into West Midtown. Google, Microsoft. You have these high-tech companies that they've moved to this neighborhood intentionally. We've met with their leaders, and I've asked that question: why did you choose this part of the city instead of Roswell, Alpharetta, someplace further? They said, well, Sid, think about where we are located compared to the schools that are around this area. These young people are brilliant. Now, these are companies that are not from Atlanta, that they've seen this.
Right.
So we are truly creating a pipeline for this high-tech industry that's moving to Atlanta. Atlanta has almost 90% of every Fortune 500 company has an office here in Atlanta.
Right.
And working with Mayor Dickens, the mayor, as we all know, is just such a proponent of making Atlanta the best place in the country to raise your children. And that's happening. But the economic advantage that we have now with these companies that see the capacity of our students in our community, it's been phenomenal.
I love it. My heart is just like on fire right now in a good way because, at the TD Jakes Foundation, we are trying to fill in the gaps inside of communities for workforce readiness.
Yeah.
So we just kicked off a cybersecurity cohort, a pilot program for those who are either underemployed or unemployed to figure out, because it's such a gap in that industry where there's such a need. And so we're trying to help fill that pipeline.
Interestingly enough, when you mentioned cybersecurity, Nike just moved their cybersecurity division from Eugene, Oregon to Atlanta.
Are you
And they are in West
serious?
Midtown. They are in 30318.
See, I knew I was supposed to mention that.
That's right.
I love it, but that is there's a huge conversation about AI in a positive or a negative way. I always look at something, a glass half full. And I'm like, these are the jobs that we need to train for around cybersecurity, which in turn is moving into AI and some of those other things. And so you have these companies that are saying, yes, we want to move into the community partner to help build that pipeline. And so I feel there's hope in that. And it's good that you're seeing that and you guys are in it every day to help with the readiness of that.
Well, one thing we realize also is our students today will have jobs once they graduate from college that don't exist right now.
Right.
They're going to have jobs that right now we can't imagine.
Oh my gosh.
And once they're capable, once they're ready for that, that's a whole nother segment that we've not even touched. I try to tell the young men in the Emerging 100, I tell them, don't try to be the smartest person in the room. I say, be the most dangerous person in the room. And when you're dangerous, you know exactly where you're going.
That's right.
You know what you need.
Focus.
As a person of color, we're always going to be that person who's noticed in that room, in that boardroom, in that meeting, because we're going to always be a minority.
Right.
but be dangerous. Don't just try to be the smartest person there.
I agree. I'm thinking about something you said. I was prior to coming into the nonprofit world, I spent the last part of my career in banking with a couple of top banks, and I remember being in a room with some interns, and we were saying, well, what job would you want as they look around and see the different roles, and I remember this one young lady said, the job that I want has not been created yet.
Absolutely.
It's like, well, okay. Well, I love that vision.
Yeah.
And so you're right. And I think they know it too. Like they have this creative mind in a different way to say, I know what I want to do, but I just don't see it yet.
Exactly.
And so I
Exactly.
do think they're evolving, and every day these new jobs that are coming out. And, they have majors that I never heard of when we were in college. Like I don't know what this is, but that's amazing because we need it. So I love it. So we're going to shift to legacy as we begin to wrap up. So as you look ahead, Mr. Barron, what legacy do you want to leave for Atlanta, for the world, for leaders coming behind you?
The biggest legacy I want to leave is to continue to build something that will exist once we're gone. We're here for just a blink. The one thing that none of us can buy more of is time. So, I want to have a legacy that people can look back and say, no matter what has happened, Sid Barron, the 100, the Barron family, they tried to elevate their community, their kids, communities that are marginalized to be something better, and to almost eliminate those descriptive terms. A marginalized community, a disadvantaged community, let's get those words out of the vocabulary.
Right.
Once we stop saying things, it disappears. But we have to be able to lay the groundwork and build a future that'll outlive us and continue to grow on that.
Legacy is something that I think we really don't really think about.
We don't. We think we'll be here forever.
Right. Yeah. Right. And literally, almost if I were to, talk to a younger person, I would want to start now by saying your legacy starts like as soon as you decide what it is you want to do. And then you can start moving toward what you said, like, I know I want this world to be better when I leave. So what do I need to do now to make sure that happens?
Sure.
And so when I think about the T.D. Jakes Foundation, when I had the opportunity to have some initial conversations with Bishop Jakes, we call him chairman because he's chairman of our board. And it took us, I was like, what do you want your legacy to be? And it took a while. We actually had to bring in a consulting firm to help us wrap around his huge vision. But it feeds into the vision of the T.D. Jakes Foundation, and it basically says to create a world where every community thrives.
Yes.
No matter where you are in the world, you feel safe. You feel like you can prosper. You feel like there's opportunity. You feel like there's access. And so we do that through focusing on financial literacy, workforce readiness, educational access, and then community transformation and well-being. And those have been his pillars throughout the 50 years that he's been in ministry and impact. And so when I think about myself, I said, okay, I want my legacy at this moment in time to help create that for the world. And so sometimes I use that example to say, sometimes I'm sure there's some young man in Project Success that's watching you and watching those other volunteers to say, I sort of see what their legacy is and I want to tag on to that, to be that. So I say that to say, as we conclude this podcast, I like to leave with a hope for the guest. And so I'll start with what my hope for you is. And then as you think about that, I'll ask you to return it for me.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
So, Mr. Sid Barron, my hope for you is that you continue to have that fire and that drive in you as long as you want to have it, to give back to the community, to be that beacon of hope for the community, specifically young men of color, in the immediate area that you have been drawn to influence. My hope is that you don't grow weary in well-doing, and that that you just continue to bring the smile and the energy to all that you do, because you are making a difference. And for someone who sat back years ago, living in Augusta, Georgia, reading my subscription of Black Enterprise magazine and reading about you, and now here I am, that to me, I feel like I've come full circle, and people who I wanted to meet, who I saw impact in the world. So my hope for you is that you always just kind of keep that fire, keep it going, and know that you're making a difference.
Got it.
Right.
Well, my hope for you is don't stop what you're doing.
Thank you.
Conversations are important. And unfortunately, our community, we don't like to talk sometimes, particularly men.
Wow.
But I think this type of forum will really get the emotions to the top. They will allow us to speak. They will allow you to pull out of a lot of us what we either don't want to talk about, or things that we should say that can help someone else.
I love that.
And I hope that with the T. Jakes Foundation that you continue to grow, and that the foundation continues to grow, because everything that the foundation is aligned with, we're aligned with at the 100. We should be aligned with our community. When we look at legacy building in particular, our peers have legacies that go back generations. A lot of times we don't want to talk about our generations because there is nothing really to talk about. But we need to change that.
Absolutely.
And I think we can change it to where now we have our young people that can be proud to talk about their parents, their grandparents, their great-grandparents. Look how they put me in the position that I'm in now. And so I just want things to continue to grow on your side and with the foundation, and keep the conversations going. We'll certainly be listening.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone for tuning in and listening to Mr. Sid Barron. I'm so excited. He's a Vice President, Manufacturer Relations, Asbury Automotive Group, and the former chairman of 100 Black Men of Atlanta. And we thank him, and we thank you for tuning in to Life and Leadership Unplugged with Kelley Cornish and the T.D. Jakes Foundation.